Hi there, I hope you all are doing well. Today we are going to draw Gojo, so I'll just use my dip pen and this regular fountain pen ink to draw it. So let's get started by dipping the nib in, and we'll start by drawing his mask, which is over his eyes. So we'll just draw the mask in order to get a rough idea of the size of his head. And basically it's just a W that you have to draw, and yeah, that's about it. That's how big I want it to be, and it's not really a perfect symmetrical thing because you do want to add some sort of asymmetry to the drawing to make it a bit more realistic. And then I'll just put 2 lines for his nostrils, and we're going to draw his face, which is a bit tricky because he has a long face, and it's a bit difficult to accurately draw the lines. So you just have to try your best to connect it from both sides, like so. And here you do want it to be a bit symmetrical. You can follow along and produce a really good drawing if you choose to draw with me here. Now we'll just draw his ears, which are very easy to draw as well. They're just very big and angular, and then we add some more detail to it, like so. And then we'll just draw his mouth, which is just 2 lines basically. We will give him a little bit of a smirk. You have to be very careful while drawing the mouth of anime characters, because if you draw the lines a bit wrong, then it can completely fuck the drawing up. So yeah, now we'll draw a bit of folds for indicating that he has eyes in that area right there, and most of it is going to be black, so I've just added a few lines. Now we start by drawing his hair. And it's really easy to draw hair with dip pens because you can get lots of line variation, and it's really easy to draw curved lines with it. And here you just want to be careful while drawing the individual lines. You don't want them to overlap or intersect. And we'll add just a little bit more detail here. And now we'll draw his coat, so his jacket, and it's all mostly black again, so not that difficult to draw. I did sort of make a mistake in drawing the left side, so I'm correcting it now. It's fine to make mistakes when you're drawing black objects because you can always change them later, especially if you're just drawing like something that's supposed to be bigger. You can just add 1 line over it. Now I'm adding some more dimension to his hair by going over the lines. Even with dip pens, it's a good practice to go over your lines to make them thicker. It just helps to make your lines look more dynamic and adds more depth to your drawing. Now I'll just bring in this marker here, which is a tinge marker, to shade his neck, and we are also going to use it to shade all of the gray areas of his mask and his clothes. This marker has a flat tip, which is very helpful to cover a large area in a short amount of time, and it's quite fun to draw with markers in general. If you've not used markers for drawing, for making your drawings, then I would highly suggest that you get them, or at least try them out, because I was really against using markers at first as well, since I mostly used watercolors, but markers are a better alternative, especially for anime drawings or comic drawings, because they can help you get a very even tone, and they can help you just draw faster as compared to drawing with a brush. And you can see that I didn't really pay attention to getting my lines to be exact while drawing with the marker, because now I'm using a brush pen in order to fill the black areas, and this is going to help me get all of the sort of shading and lines to be accurate. And you can see I'm fixing the lines of his face here a little bit. It's always good to make iterations to your art if you think that something is off, in order to get a more accurate result. Now I'm just filling in the black areas, which is really easy to do and quite fast to do with a brush pen. Really, it doesn't take much time to fill in large areas with a brush pen. And I've actually modified the pen that you see me using here. It's a Pentel Feud pocket brush pen, and it ran out of ink, so instead of getting a new one, what I did was I filled in my own ink in there, and I removed a stopper which is in place to limit the flow of ink, which gives me really a great amount of ink flow, which you usually won't get with a brush pen. You can easily fill in these pocket brush pens. There are lots of tutorials on YouTube that teach you how to do that if you're interested. I can also make one if you would like. Now I'm just coloring in his mask, which is again not that easy of a task. You have to be very careful when you're using a brush pen with a very broad tip when you are filling in details, so that you don't mess up the drawing. So now I'll just switch over to a dip pen in order to complete the lines here, so that I can draw more precise lines. Now I can just go on adding detail here until I'm satisfied, and the more detail that I add, the better it's going to look. So it's really a matter of patience, and a lot of drawing is really a matter of patience, because in order to get a good result, you really have to put in the work. But the end result is really worth it, in my opinion. As in, when you're drawing any kind of cloth or anything that is completely jet black. If you just add more tone to it, like I'm doing here by hatching with the dip pen and adding these lines that convey light and shadow, then you're going to get a much better result than it being just a solid black shade. Now I'm going to add shading to his face using this smaller nib, which is a mapping nib of the dip pen, and this gives me like really fine lines, as you can see over here, which are great for shading hair, especially shading white hair. And you can see that I'm drawing very evenly spaced lines, which is essential in order to properly shade the area using a pen. And now I'm cross hatching to add a darker layer in there. Now this is just a matter of control, of how much control you have over your wrist and how much you are able to control the lines that you draw. It is also very satisfying to draw with the brush pen, or a dip pen rather. So it's not tiring at all. I mean, I can really go on doing this forever. Hatching with a dip pen is one of the greatest joys of drawing that you can experience, and I really recommend that you try a dip pen if you've never tried one. Now I'm adding shading to his face, and you have to be very careful while you're hatching on the face, because if you make the lines a bit too dark, it can come off as wrinkles or just bruises over the face, which you don't want it to be. So you have to be very careful while you're hatching or adding tones with a dip pen. Now I'm just finishing off the line work and adding more details. And again, I can just go on doing this forever, but I'll just shade in his neck and add a bit more of cross hatching over there, and basically just call it a day. And there is your finished illustration of Gojo, and it looks pretty good in my opinion. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments, and do like this video and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you in the next one.